In the last 10 years or so, I've had friends come up to me and tell me that taking mushrooms has helped them detach from the ego and see things from a totally different perspective. And after about 10 or so different types of people from different walks of life telling me this, I finally decided, okay, maybe I should try this out just once. Now, those of you who know me, I don't take drugs, I don't drink alcohol, I meditate a lot, I reflect on things. So many people told me so many good things about this that I decided to try it. So I took 2 chocolate bars, and this was first thing in the morning on a Monday because EDC just ended and there were some extra chocolate mushrooms. And I didn't feel anything for about an hour. And then after about an hour, it started kicking in and you start feeling this wavy feeling. And as someone who liked to be in control, I was really scared. I was like, oh no, it feels like I'm getting sick. And then luckily my roommate was around and he explained to me, how this thing works and that it'll be a good ride if I kind of embrace it. So I embraced it. And after about an hour and a half to 2 hours, I started getting these really cool experience, let's say. So I only took 2 bars, but I took it without food. My mind was able to connect in a way that it wasn't able to before. I started thinking about my former girlfriend. I started thinking about my family. I started thinking about how I was so driven to accomplish certain things, and I had this blueprint of my life. And anything that didn't fit into that blueprint was a waste. For example, I would be having lunch with a friend of mine, and if that friend wasn't useful in some way for me to achieve my goals, I found it to be a waste of time and I would get impatient and want to leave. And I realized that that was a very rigid way of thinking. I also came to realize that when you're running a business, when you're thinking a lot with your analytical mind, you have to give things form. We give it form so that we can capture reality and try to control reality. But what if reality is so much more than just a form we give it? The fact that I'm speaking to you right now in English is beautiful, but it's also a limitation in of itself because the English words can only describe reality so much. And so I got to thinking, I got to feeling that there are other ways to exist and experience the world. And I was very linearly connected in my neural connections because I'm a guy who's a high achiever and I've always pushed for things. So once I had that an hour and a half kind of different experience, I started recording some of my notes. One thing I realized was I keep thinking that I have to achieve a certain level of success to get the girl that I want. And that was a very rigid way of thinking. Friends who didn't benefit me in any way were not good, instead of just appreciating them for that experience. I also started thinking, what if there was a better way to teach dating skills or social skills? Obviously, a lot of my clients are very analytical minded engineers, successful guys, businessmen, and they tend to think in a very logical progression. So I've broken down my model in a logical progression. Following these steps will give them that natural flow and the experience of what it's like to flirt and to really be in that masculine, feminine energy. But I started thinking, what if there's a better way? What if my clients took mushrooms? I'm just kidding. What if they took improv class? Or what if there was a holistic way to get them out of their head? Perhaps go on a retreat, go on an experience, start taking dance classes. What if they went to this sanctuary where they could meditate, dissolve, get massages, dance, do improv class, and then I teach them the social skills class after that whole day. Their minds will be a lot more flexible when it comes to learning dating, right? Which is the flirting is such a wave. It's like a water in the wave. It's not specific in form. It's more of an energy field. So it got me thinking, like, what is what I'm teaching actually working? And I will say that from my perspective, I think what I'm teaching definitely works for someone who is analytical and they want to break out of that mindset, but all they can think about is logical in terms of how they view the world. But I wonder if there's a better way. And as a coach, I'm always asking myself, is there a better way? Maybe there is a better way. One of my mentors, Zan, I remember when I was interviewing him for one of my products, I made a comment to Zan. I said, you know, Zan, you're like a previous generation to me, and you have lived so much more life than I have at that point. And I said, you know, but when I talk to you and I ask you questions, it feels like you are still a student. And I remember he just kind of smiled, and then he said, aren't we all? And the reason I think I consider him one of my great mentors is because he never stopped learning. He never accepted the fact that his final attraction dating model, that was it, and this is the only way to do it. Even in our interviews, he was asking me questions, and he was thinking about the things I said to him, and I could tell that he was taking it in and thinking, is that a better way? Now, for example, in my conversation with him, I talked about how when I'm hanging out with my Asian friends, I have to tone down my attractiveness because a lot of my nonverbals and behavior patterns and my conversation patterns that I've honed over the years automatically make women kind of attracted to me. And I noticed that in my Asian circles that are a little bit more conservative, that could cause a lot of drama, problems. And so usually when I hang out with them, I tone down I actively have to tone down the behavior patterns that I personally picked up over the years that come out very naturally. And then Zan listened to it, he said, oh, that's interesting. I never thought about it that way. He's like, you know, I never had to do that, but I can see in your situation how that would be useful. And he took a moment to ponder, and he paused for a second. And we had a good discussion about that. So I think as a good coach, you know, I teach you the authentic attraction model. I teach you the style attraction triggers on my YouTube. But I'm always wondering, like, is there a better way? Is there a better way to do this? And I think that's a question that if you're really good at anything, you should always be asking, is there a better way to do this? In my knowledge, this is the fastest, most efficient way to do it. But perhaps there are improvements that can be made. And so another thing I realized when I was high and I came down a bit was what Tony Robbins calls, there is a science of achievement and the art of fulfillment. The science of achievement is there's certain processes and logical steps you need to take to build a business, to land a job offer, to become a millionaire, right? There's certain things, luck is involved, but there's a process there that gets you the level of achievement. And then he talks about the art of fulfillment, and he says, I know plenty of people who have massive achievement, billionaires even, who are extremely unfulfilled. And he says there's nothing worse than being high achieving and unfulfilled. And it got me thinking, as I'm in my 30s, on this journey, how can you achieve, but also be fulfilled with the achievements that you are trying to accomplish or have accomplished? And this art of fulfillment part for me has always been, let's put that off. When this happens, when I achieve this level, then I'll be fulfilled and happy. But I think that's a losing game to play. And I've always known that logically, but when I was high, I was like, oh, I need to learn how to detach from that. And so there are moments when we gain momentum in building our business or learning dating skills. And there's moments when you have to turn that off and just be with your friends, your family, people that are close to you, spending time with yourself, loving yourself. And being able to switch between those two modes, I think, is a skill set that a lot of people don't have. One quote that I remember was from another mentor of mine, Eric, and he said, may the arts, he was talking about Venusian arts, enrich your life and not define it. And so I think there are moments when I'm just focused on becoming a better coach, building my business. Perhaps for you, getting better with women, getting better with your social skills, getting better with having real conversations. And then at some point you got to turn that off and be like, all right, let me change channels in my brain. How do I enjoy today just for today without it trying to accomplish something? And I think that ability to switch between the two and gain momentum, whether just enjoying yourself and being fulfilled or getting back to that kind of momentum of, okay, how do I figure out how to achieve this? I think that ability is really something I need to work on, and perhaps something that I invite you to think about as you're improving your social skills.